and welcome to Board Games and Coffee. Today we're going to be talking about luck, and I'll be defending the thesis that strategy is overhyped and luck is the true hero. Now, every week I do a live show where I talk about some aspect of the board game hobby. This week is a special episode though, because I'm actually re-recording this morning's performance after it didn't work so well when my microphone wasn't plugged in properly. If you're interested in watching the show live, you can see it every week at 6 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, or you can also check out the podcast, which you can download anywhere where you download podcasts. Anyway, today I'm going to start by introducing a poll, and I ask my subscribers every week to answer a question that's related to the week's topics. This week I asked, how do you think luck most effectively enhances gameplay in board games? And overwhelmingly, people responded that some luck, like weighing probabilities, complements strategy. Okay, so I do think that people are very excited about strategy and skill in the board game hobby, but I also think that luck is a bit underrated. So to defend this, I want to first talk about what luck is. Now, when I am reviewing board games, I define luck as the degree to which an inexperienced player has the tendency to beat an experienced player at a board game. So for example, in chess, an experienced player will always beat an inexperienced player, and in something like Yahtzee, anybody could win. But while this is an acceptable definition for putting luck on a scale, like I often put things on a gradient, the definition is inadequate, and luck actually has several dimensions to it. So we're going to talk about those dimensions first. So first is the type of luck in gameplay. There are actually two types of luck. There's aleatory and epistemic. Now, aleatory luck is luck that is determined by completely random events, the kinds of events that no one has any control over. So rolling dice, drawing cards. Epistemic luck, though, is luck that's based on the complexity of systems, specifically human behavior and human decisions that are unpredictable. Before I give you a couple of examples, let's take a look at two more degrees of luck, or dimensions of luck. So the next is stochasticity. Now, stochasticity is really just a fancy word for the amount of luck in a game, or the number of events that are generated by luck. So a game where you're rolling dice every turn would have high stochasticity, and a game that hardly has any luck at all, maybe a few events that set up the round, would have low stochasticity. And then finally, there's volatility. How much swing does luck add to the game? So with that vocabulary, I can give you several examples. Concerning aleatory luck, there are games that have very low volatility and high stochasticity. So games like Dominion or Dice Forge or Carcassonne. Each of these games, every turn has an event that is generated by luck. So in Dominion, you're drawing 5 cards. You play the 5 cards, discard them, and you draw 5 for the next turn. Dice Forge, you're just rolling dice again and again and again. But in every case, these events don't influence the outcome of the game dramatically, because overall there's going to be an averaging out of luck, and you would assume that most people are going to have about even luck. It's very rare that something immensely impactful happens in one of these games, because these events are always happening. Then you get to games that have a kind of a medium stochasticity, like Lorenzo il Magnifico. So in Lorenzo il Magnifico, the setup for the round is generated by luck. Cards come out to fill towers, dice get rolled, and the dice are shared values for each player's workers. And then after that, everyone plays the round and only skill is involved in all of these decisions from there on out. But when the round ends, brand new events generate the way that the next round is going to be played. Then you have games that have high volatility. So these are games like Flux or Exploding Kittens or Innovation. Games with cards that are very, very overpowered. And even though there may be multiple copies of cards that are very overpowered, not sometimes they can really, really turn a game very quickly too. So, I've got that. Oh, I've also got one, high volatility but low stochasticity. This is a game like Beyond the Sun. So in Beyond the Sun, this is a space-themed game. You've got players that are going for area control over here and exploring different planets, and then you've got your own resources that you're managing on your own board. But a lot of the game is driven by a technology tree. And you can utilize the technologies that have come into play, or you can explore a new technology. And I think in the whole game, there's probably about 12 technology cards that could ever come out in the game. And when a player discovers a new technology, they get to choose a card out of a few cards that get drawn. 2 cards, I think. And then they put that card down, and then it completely changes the outcome of the rest of the game. Sometimes it can have a really big impact on the person who discovered it, too. But low stochasticity, because these are really the only events that are luck-driven. Okay, going into Epistemic Luck. These are games like QE, for example. QE is a game that involves bidding, but every round, the bid is secret, and players are bidding with unlimited money. They can write checks for any amount, but the catch is the person who spends the most money will lose. So there's a really interesting game going on among the players as they try to evaluate one another's evaluation of the tiles that come out during gameplay. Or a lot of games that have social deduction, right? Games where you have secret rolls. So, for example, Avalon. The interesting thing about Avalon is I've played it so many times. This is a secret or a roll social deduction game where everyone has a secret role. And they're going on missions, and so the first player selects 2 players to go on the mission, and if there's a bad guy on the mission can fail, but of course the bad guys can pose as good guys. It seems to be the case that in games where the bad guy is the first player, the outcome of the game is almost already determined. Almost. Because it's very hard to make a decision on the very first round if you're a bad guy. Because if you're a bad guy, you can pose as a good guy in order to make the first round or the first mission go through, and then that way deceive everybody, make them think that you're actually good, but you're conceding a point when you do that. If you fail the mission on the very first round, well then you made it pretty clear that you're possibly a bad guy, and it makes it a lot easier for the good guys to figure that out. So you've kind of conceded it another way. It's very, very challenging when a bad guy's on the first mission. But the whole catch of the game is that no one knows that. No one knows how it's going to unfold, and no one knows who the first player really is. It's all secret identities, and because of that, the behavior of players is completely unpredictable. Now, there are other games that have no luck at all. So, QE, a tile comes out, and there's luck involved. Avalon, the identities get assigned, and then the first player gets determined, and there's luck involved. But then you've got games like Hansa Teutonica, or games like the ones produced by Splotter, like Food Chain Magnate, where the game has no luck at all. None. So Hans is a great example of this. You've got a board, and it's just players making their choices about the routes they want to complete and the upgrades they want to make on their personal board. So, is that game 100% skill? I would say it's certainly a very skillful game. It's a game where skill is definitely forefront in the game's design, but here's how luck is involved. In all of these Euro board games, there is an element of design where players can go off and do their own thing because the winner is determined by victory points. Right? So in Hansa Teutonica, you're completing routes, you're making upgrades on your own board, you're getting victory points. You don't have to interfere with anybody else. You can just do your own thing. In Food Chain Magnate, you don't have to interfere with other people's plans. You can just advertise your burgers and sell your burgers. And if people play the game expecting everybody to do their own thing, that's valuable information. But there's another way to play the game, which is to deliberately interfere with other people's plans. So in Hansa Teutonica, it's blocking somebody's route. In Food Chain Magnate, it's deliberately advertising food that an opponent's restaurant doesn't sell, just so that the customers don't go there anymore. Whether or not somebody goes off in their corner and does their own thing or deliberately interferes is unpredictable. You really don't know. Sometimes they'll do it intentionally because you're perceived as the player who's ahead and people want to interfere with your plans. Other times, maybe not. Maybe there's a move that's valuable enough for them that they'd rather mind their own business. You really don't know. It's unpredictable, and this is called epistemic luck. So, that's the vocabulary. Here's my problem. My problem as a reviewer. You can criticize me for this. It's absolutely fair to say that I am inadequate at addressing luck because I am never this specific when I'm reviewing this game. Normally what happens is I play a game and then I get irritated because something interferes with the game that I don't expect. Best example of this, the thing that really gets to me, is when a game has like a market of cards and a player can spend a resource in order to refresh the market. So they spend the resource, they refresh the market, and lo and behold, the best card that could ever come out has come out exclusively for them, and it's right there. And they're like, oh, wow, look it, I've already satisfied all of the conditions for this card. I guess I'll just take it. Oh, take the card, boom. That drives me crazy. But it's not because the game has too much luck involved. It's because luck isn't just amount. But luck is a flavor. If I go into a game expecting a certain flavor and then something corrupts that flavor, that's what I don't like. When I criticize that in board games, what I'm actually criticizing is that I'm playing a game that I expect to have lower volatility. That's the actual vocabulary. I'm expecting lower volatility, and a particular one-time event has happened, which is a high volatility event. And then that corrupts the flavor. But when I'm playing innovation, which is a high volatility luck-based game, I go into it with the expectation that it's going to be crazy. It's going to be Calvin Ball. And when it is, I'm not disappointed. I'm happy because it's exactly what it was advertised to be. That I really, really like. So, whether a game has high stochasticity or low, or the luck is aleatory or epistemic, I'm fine as long as I know what it's going to be in advance. And when it seems like a game is exhibiting a luck-based event that isn't how the game was designed, that's a criticism for me. But as a reviewer, I'm never that articulate. I usually talk about one or two things that kind of bugged me, and then I make it like, oh, the luck is I don't like the luck, it's too much luck. I could be more clear. I could absolutely be more clear. So luck is a flavor, and that's not all, though. That's not all. I am fooling myself if I think that skill-based games are what I really, really like. And I think, going back to the title of this video, strategy is overhyped. And luck really is a core player in what makes this hobby. Here's what I mean. I actually come from a mathematics background. I have a master's in math education. I was a high school teacher in math. I was in a fellowship program called Math for America, which was in New York City. I had a lot of opportunities to study math and learn more about my profession. It was an excellent opportunity. One time I even went to a convention about math, or a conference, and the theme of the conference was math games. Mathematicians love problem solving and game theory. So by game theory, I'll give you an example of a game. We could play a game right now. Let's say we have 10 people playing. The game is whoever can name a positive integer that is the lowest positive integer wins, as long as no one else also says that integer. Right? So I say 3. Right? What did you say? So I guess it takes lots of players. You can't just play it 2-player, and you can't play it by looking into an iPhone. All right. The idea of the game is if everybody says 1, because 1 is the lowest positive integer, then you lose because everyone said 1. So you could think, okay, well, I won't say 1, I'll say 2. But if everybody thinks that, then, okay, that's not going to win. So that's why I say 3. I say 3 because maybe no one will say 3. But then, of course, maybe everyone else is thinking that too. So who knows? It's a game among the players. The game theory. So mathematicians love this. They think it's so fun to talk about and discuss, and there's no luck involved at all. We love this. We make all kinds of cool little games that you can play with paper and a pen, or you can use little tokens, you can use coins. We don't care about appearance, we don't care about theme. All we care about is problem solvings and like the art of strategy. That's what we talk about. So how come board game hobbyists don't go to conferences like this? How come we don't talk about games like this? I'm going to have to delineate between the two. So we've got the math games and we've got the board game hobby games. When I say board games, I'm talking about our games, our Euro games, or whatever we want to call them. We don't do it because that removes accessibility, right? You know why we don't play a lot of math games like that? Because we don't... because we're not nerds. Because we're not nerds. I'm a nerd. But listen, man. You know what makes games like Monopoly and Catan so popular? Anybody can play that. You can just roll the dice and make $200 if you're playing Monopoly. Or you can roll the dice and you can get stone and sheep and wheat all on one turn just because of dice. That's so much fun. Anybody can do it. You can invite your friends over and you don't have to be a nerd. Our hobby exists because board game strategy is made accessible to non-nerds. And you know what? And we're nerds because of it, right? Well, I think luck deserves more credit. Okay? Now, normally, at this time in the video, I take questions. So if you're watching the live viewing, then you can ask your questions and I'll see them in the chat. But today I had to record the questions. So first question is, what about luck mitigation? Many games are designed with a mechanic to offset bad luck. How would you describe this impact in a review, and what does it do for the hobby? Okay, so examples of luck mitigation. In Trois, everybody's rolling dice. They put them in their own district, and what you get is what you get. But the way that you mitigate for bad luck is you can use your money to buy better dice from your opponents. Deprive them of their good dice and use them yourself, but you spend the money. That's really cool. In Castles of Burgundy, you are rolling dice, but then you can add or subtract the value to the dice using your dice modifiers. In Brass Birmingham, you've got cards, you're drawing cards, but the cards have multiple use. So you can use them to play a route, or you can use them to upgrade or to create a production facility or manufacture and send out. You can do so much with your cards, so it really offsets bad luck. So how does it influence my review? Well, listen, board games are not only luck. This video is only talking about luck, but there's many more elements of board game design, absolutely. You know what we love about board games design? Agency. We love having agency, decisions over our gameplay. So when you add luck mitigation, it just creates opportunities for more agency. And that's awesome. That's awesome. It's innovative. I like it. So when I'm reviewing it, I usually point that out. I especially like it when I find something that's very new. And I would also say that with that luck mitigation, what that does is it decreases volatility. Stochasticity can still stay up, but you have a way to offset volatility. You know what I want to see? I want to see a game that has a market refresh, but then you can offset volatility there. Like, what if somebody refreshed the market, the best card in the world came out, and they're like, oh, I'm going to take this card. And then the opponent was like, oh, no, you're not. I'm going to do a card zap. I don't know. But it'd be cool because sometimes I get really frustrated when that happens. And the next question is, what about Santorini? Santorini has players in direct conflict. Does it have an element of epistemic luck? So, like I just described earlier, chess has direct conflict. There are no victory points in chess. There is no hope that someone is going to go off and do their own thing. I'm talking about chess. There's no hope that someone is going to go off and do their own thing to get victory points. Because in chess, you don't win chess by getting victory points. You win chess by defeating your opponent. That's why every single move is a skill-based move. You're not going to say like, oh, I didn't expect you to do that because, you can think that, but you know that your opponent is always motivated to beat you. They never have any other motivation. So chess falls into that category of the math games, right? Santorini is like chess. There are no victory points in Santorini. Now, it has a theme on it, right? It has a beautiful Greek theme, and you can even tie in, your god powers too to create more mixed gameplay. But at every decision along the way in Santorini, you can only win by defeating your opponents. So your opponent's motivations is always clear. It is a skill-based game. Now, I'm not saying that people in the board game hobby can't play skill-based games. I love Santorini, and I recommend it all the time. But you're right. Santorini is not that type of game. It's an abstract board game. It's what it is, abstract strategy board game. So, thank you for watching this video. Once again, if you would like to see more content like this, be sure to check out the live show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, or if you live in Japan like me, every Tuesday at 7 a.m. That's why it's called Board Games and Coffee. All right. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.